Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro. 1, 2,
3. All right, good morning, Las Vegas. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Hump Day, baby, on a Wednesday, broadcasting live from Brian Shapiro's kitchen table. That's right, folks. We're not going anywhere for a long time, but it is good to be with you. It is good to be live, and it is good for us to be able to still broadcast live as we've been doing every single day. Let me give you a quick rundown of what we're going to do. Obviously, we're going to be covering the breaking news, Bernie Sanders backing out. We'll get to that in just a minute. I love this show, Bar Rescue. It's one of my favorite reality shows of all time. John Taffer is a local here in Las Vegas. He is a brilliant man when it comes to bars, restaurants, and how to run a successful business. What better time to get some information from him, because a lot of the local businesses are struggling. So John Taffer will be joining us in hour number 2. You hear what's going on in the Wisconsin primary? What a joke. You've got Republicans in that state wearing hazmat suits saying, oh, everything's just fine. Go ahead and vote. Everything's okay. You got the president of the United States, at the same time complaining about mailing in votes and how corrupt that is, yet he did the exact same thing. So anyway, we're going to talk to Sean Gallagher. He's a reporter out there in Wisconsin from TMJ4 News, coming up in hour number 2. Hour number 3, we're going to have a man join us, a local man who contracted the coronavirus, and now he is back to being healthy. He's going to talk a little bit about his experience. So that and much more coming up. But joining us right now, ladies and gentlemen, he does a show here every Saturday, 2 to 4 p.m., Oh, yeah, we love that intro music, man. He always raises hell, none other than Doug Basham. Doug, thank you so much for joining us, my friend. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, guys. I hope you're staying safe and healthy.
We're doing the best we can under the circumstances. Thanks for joining us, as always, Doug. So the first question I want to ask you is obviously the breaking news, as I'm sure you've heard this morning. Evident that Bernie Sanders eventually was going to back out. It had to happen sooner or later. So what's your first reaction? Bernie Sanders now out. Joe Biden is going to be the guy. Unless something crazy happens, Joe Biden going to be the guy to be running against Donald Trump. What's your first reaction to that, Doug?
Well, it was time for Bernie to do it. You could argue that it was past time for him to do it. I'm just not real excited that clears the way for Joe Biden to be the nominee.
Tell me a little bit more. Because you're a diehard liberal. Explain to me why you're not excited, because this is important. Because I'm not either, to be honest with you, Doug. But explain to me your reasons why you're not excited that Joe Biden is now the guy.
Well, let me start by saying I love Joe Biden. I saw him speak in Washington several years ago, and he was just dynamite. But this is not the same Joe Biden. He's lost his fastball. He's running a covert campaign, just like we are from home, and I kind of understand why Democrats coalesced around him. They wanted the primary to be over. They know that Joe Biden, at his core, is a decent, good man, but he's just not exciting anybody, and I just don't think he's getting it done. I'm just not sure if he really has to go up against Donald Trump. I mean, there's a part of me that believes any candidate would be better than Donald Trump, but it would be nice if we had a candidate who was actually exciting people. And right. Joe Biden, today's Joe Biden doesn't excite me the way yesterday's did.
Yeah, he's definitely not the same person he was 10 years ago, and you see him on TV. He has a hard time putting full sentences together. He gets this deer in the headlight looks.
One of those.
Yeah, well, I mean, not really, but
really.
He doesn't. He has that deer in the headlight look on a consistent basis. Anyways, do you think that Andrew Cuomo would be an exciting candidate for the Democratic Party? And do you think something might happen in the next 3 or 4 months where Biden, for whatever reason, decides to drop out? And Cuomo, considering the fact that he's doing his task, his briefing every single day. It's getting a lot of attention on Twitter and on social media. For the 20 million people in New York. I mean, do you think that Cuomo might have a chance of being the nominee on the Democratic side of things?
There's a rumor that could happen, and I don't know if it's more wishful thinking than reality. But I made a comment on my show either this past Saturday or the Saturday before that for this past week, Andrew Cuomo has been the president of the United States.
Well, I certainly think he's shown tremendous leadership. And by the way, he's not attacking Donald Trump either. He's showing a lot of resistance, I guess you could say. He has not attacked
I wouldn't
Donald
call
Trump.
it resistance. I mean, Donald Trump is certainly helping the state of New York, so why would he attack Donald Trump at this point?
Well, he needs more ventilators, simply
no,
put.
actually, he doesn't.
Okay, well, if you say so. But,
Okay, he doesn't.
But, Donald Trump is accusing Cuomo of playing politics, and Donald Trump has been the guy that has said that he's inflated the numbers. Let me ask you a question.
Well, I would say J.B. Pritzker from Illinois is playing the most politics right now.
Well, what would you rather have, more ventilators or less ventilators? What do you think would be better for a hospital?
It would be better if you had more, but the issue is if other states, because the national government has 8,700 something odd ventilators. So if other states need ventilators, you have to be able to give them those ventilators. And Trump's explained this multiple times.
Doug, what are your thoughts on that?
Now, specifically the ventilators or Cuomo
Yes.
or
both the ventilators and the raft that Donald Trump has.
That's option D, all of the above, Doug.
all of the above. Well, I go back to my fallback position. Donald Trump has mishandled this coronavirus crisis from day one. I mean, he's still attacking governors, accusing them of failing, and will be there if they fail. And I think what it all comes down to is that the biggest failure in this whole crisis has been Donald Trump. And these press conferences that he has every day have turned into blame sessions and distractions from his miserable failures.
I agree, and he does it every single day. He attacks reporters every single day. He did it again yesterday. So I want to change topics a little bit here. I'm listening to a nationally syndicated host. I'm not even going to say his name because I'm just sick of it, but a right-wing talk show host who was on the air yesterday and basically says that the death numbers from the coronavirus have been inflated, that it's not right, that if you die from the coronavirus but you had other underlying health conditions, that it shouldn't be a coronavirus death. So my question to you, Doug Basham, is what do you make of the right and nationally syndicated radio hosts saying that the deaths and the death certificates, the doctors, the nurses, and the people who are actually responsible for the death certificates are playing political games? What do you make of that argument from the right?
Well, I think it's typical. I mean, they started off by following Trump's lead and downplaying the virus, saying it wasn't serious. His new press secretary, Kelly McEnany, actually said, Donald Trump isn't going to let this virus come to America. I mean, they downplayed it. They were proven wrong on that. So now that the numbers are coming out, now they have to attack the numbers. I mean, they attack reality. That's what they do.
Well, Doug, the numbers came out. It's supposed to be 2.6 million if there's no quote-unquote mitigation, 100 to 240,000 if there's perfect mitigation. The newest IHME, which is the poll that Fauci uses, that the Bill Gates Foundation funds, the Washington University poll, predicts it at 60,000 deaths. So that number has been dropped tremendously. And do you know why, Brian? That Sean Hannity, I'm assuming it's Sean Hannity, said what he said last night.
When you assume, you make an ass out of you and me.
I'm assuming. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. It's okay. Just because I'm wrong doesn't mean I'm an ass, Brian.
That was a joke.
So anyone who's wrong is automatically an ass every time?
That was a joke.
Oh, really good joke. That was great.
If you want to argue.
Anyways,
it wasn't Sean Hannity.
Anyways, Dr. Deborah Birx yesterday said during the press conference that as of right now, if you have COVID-19 in your system, regardless of any other health conditions, you are, at the time of death, you are considered a death of COVID-19. She said that explicitly in the press conference, and that is why Sean Hannity is making that statement.
Sean Hannity did not make that statement.
Sean, whoever it was, whoever your mystery syndicated host is making that statement. That's why, Brian, because Deborah Birx said it yesterday in the press conference.
Well, let's let Doug respond to that, and then I will. Go ahead, Doug.
Well, I mean, I think the whole thing's ridiculous. If somebody's driving down the street and they have a heart condition and they get in an accident, their cause of death is the accident, not the heart condition. So if people have COVID-19 and die, that should be the cause of death, irrespective of any other pre-existing conditions.
Well, what if you have COVID-19 and you get into a car accident and you die?
Well, then the primary cause of death would be the car accident.
Of course.
Well, that's Deborah Birx is saying that's not the case. If you have COVID-19 in your system at the time of death, they are considering it a COVID-19 death.
That's not.
Well, I don't think she was referring to the car accident.
That's not what she's referring to. The right is referring to heart issues, diabetes, kidney problems, bad immune systems. Maybe, for example, if you have had cancer or have cancer, that's exactly what the right is referring to. And you know what? Fine, I'll say the name. Mark Levin.
Okay,
Mark Levin has come on our show before. He was very nice to us. We're nice to him. I quote, this is what he said yesterday on his show. He said, "Open up the country immediately." And he also said, these deaths, it's a sham. It's a sham. That's what Mark Levin said on his show. Doug, go ahead and respond to that.
I'm not sure I know how to.
No, but do it with your impression as well, just like Brian did. I'd like to hear that.
No, I'd rather stick with Bernie Sanders. No, I mean, this is all to be expected. The right has shifted so much in their whole approach to this. One thing I found interesting is the story that Fox is stocking up on attorneys because of the expected lawsuits they expect for the misinformation and lies they have been peddling on this virus. In fact, one nonprofit in Washington State has already sued them.
Doug, what do you make of, speaking of which, what do you make of Laura Ingraham, as I like to call her the racist witch, but now she's Dr. Racist Witch? The story came out the other day by the Washington Post, who broke the story that Laura Ingraham travels to the White House with a few of the doctors that appear on her show on a nightly basis, trying to push this drug. What do you make of Donald Trump talking to Sean Hannity on a regular basis, Donald Trump talking to Laura Ingraham on a regular basis, actually trying to get information from them and advising them to a certain extent? What do you make of that story?
Well, the thing that irks me the most about that is that Donald Trump has access to more information than any other human being on the planet, and yet he won't take his daily briefs, he won't read them. They reduce him to one page with lots of pictures and his name in it to try and get him to read it, and yet he gets his intelligence from Fox News.
JD, would you agree with that? Do you think that Donald Trump gets his – because I agree with Doug. I would imagine you might not. But
do you think the pictures are blank on a white piece of paper and they give him crayons as well to color it in?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, that might be an added thing. I don't know if they do give him crayons, but that might be something for them to consider. Anything to get him to read the briefings from the intelligence community.
Do you think he can actually read?
Calling Fox Noise to get his information.
Right, Fox Noise. Do you think that Donald Trump can read, or do you think he's illiterate?
Do I think Donald Trump what?
Do you think he can read?
I think he can read. I think he chooses not to.
So, well, you actually just complimented Donald Trump then.
Well, as far as the reading, let me just add a little bit.
Saying that I think the president of the United States can read, that's lowering the bar for a compliment.
Well, Floyd Mayweather can read, but he can't read very well. So I mean, that's not
well,
necessarily.
No, he shows that when he goes up goes from a teleprompter that he's not a proficient reader.
But
exactly. He can read. His problem is he chooses not to because he thinks he knows it all already.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. When he just reads the teleprompter, usually everything is okay. But during these coronavirus press conferences, he's not doing that. He reads a sentence, and then he ad-libs and says something stupid. Then he reads another sentence, then ad-libs and says something else stupid. It's getting to be a little bit ridiculous. Doug, do you think we're at the point now where CNN, MSNBC, and some of these other networks are going to stop airing the Trump press conferences?
That's a great question, Brian, and I wrestle with this because there's a part of me that says, if you give him enough rope with regards to letting him speak, eventually he will hang himself. But I said the same thing back in 2016, and I was wrong. They gave him all the rope he needed, and he didn't hang himself. He still won the election. So I'm afraid that the networks are making the same mistake today they made in 2016, giving him a free platform from which to spew his lies and conspiracy theories. And it didn't hurt him in 2016. Whether it will this year, I don't know.
Name one conspiracy theory that Donald Trump has spewed in the last week.
Oh, I'll tell you one from just yesterday, that voting by mail is a big fraud or has the potential for great fraud. There's no proof of that. The only proof that has come is from Republicans in North Carolina. Our military's been doing it for years, diplomats, people that live overseas. The big problem is Republicans know that their policies are not shared by the majority of Americans, and the more people that vote, the less likely they're to win.
Well, if their policies aren't shared by the majority of Americans, why don't more Americans vote then? Why don't they vote Democratic? Why don't they vote against Donald Trump? Why don't they vote against the GOP, the Republican Party?
Because unfortunately, democracy comes with the caveat that you don't have to participate. And a lot of people are lazy, and they don't get involved, they don't pay attention, and they can't be bothered to vote.
So are they just going online and just kind of in a groupthink type of setting, just making these broad statements and attacking these politicians and attacking these political parties, but at the same time they don't actually believe in what they're talking about? At least they don't believe in it enough to actually change the United States like they can just by going and simply voting in one day every 4 years?
Well, I would say the people that are going online and attacking politicians, to use your phrase, aren't the ones that participate in our democratic process.
But that's where the majority of this negative media, so to speak, is taking place against Donald Trump.
Right. The problem here's my concern. A lot of
why
people
go on the internet?
They're going to work, not so much anymore, but before this crisis hit, they were going to work, taking care of their families, coming home, watching a bit of reality TV, and the only news they ever get is probably the local news. Well, now with the coronavirus, chances are they're paying closer attention. And if all they do is watch these press briefings every day, they're getting a very skewed version of reality.
And they're also getting, I don't think CNN realizes this, but or CNN and MSNBC and all the left-wing media sources, but when these reporters try to get Trump in these gotcha questions every single day,
that was my next question.
People are picking up on this. People are seeing this, and it is not reflecting well on them, and it's not reflecting well on the Democratic Party. I'm not sure people actually realize. I'm not sure that the powers that be of those major networks actually realize that.
Doug, that was my next question. I fight with JD on the air every day about a lot of different issues. This is one of them. He seems to think that there are reporters in these press briefings that are trying to get the president in gotcha moments. I don't think holding the president accountable when it comes to ventilators, when it comes to testing, is a gotcha moment at all. So can you please convince JD and that these reporters like Jim Acosta, they're not trying to get these gotcha moments. They're holding the president accountable, and it's not the reporter's job to congratulate. But JD seems to think that it is the reporter's job in this time to congratulate the president.
Under these circumstances, yes.
Okay, I think that's ridiculous. Doug, what do you say?
Oh, I agree. I think at a time like this, it is more imperative upon reporters to hold Trump accountable. And in all honesty, with a few minor exceptions, I think they are failing miserably. He treats them like they are stuck to the bottom of his shoe, and they sit there and take it. His attack on Jonathan Karl of ABC yesterday was just disgraceful, and Trump was completely in the wrong. But he's the one with the microphone. His staff controls the microphone that the reporters have. They pot them down. Trump bullies the reporters. And as I say, people just tuning in who don't know what's going on could think that Trump was telling the truth when it was clearly Jonathan Karl that was.
Do you think that the United States should cut off funding to the World Health Organization?
No. At a time like this, of course not.
Let's go back to
we're in the middle of a coronavirus crisis. This is not the time to be doing stupid stuff like that.
Let's go back to that Karl question because, JD, what did that reporter do yesterday that you thought was inappropriate? What was the question that he asked?
The one I saw was 2 days ago. I didn't see Jonathan Karl yesterday.
I apologize. You're right. It was 2 days ago.
I thought that was 2 days ago.
It was.
He asked the question about the Inspector General.
And what was wrong, JD, about that question? How was that a gotcha question?
Well, the Inspector General, the information the Inspector General had was it wasn't verified. That's my issue with it. He's trying to get Donald Trump in a situation.
Hospitals in 46 states. How is that not? I mean, how is that not an accurate review or study?
323 hospitals in 46 states. That doesn't mean anything to you, JD?
And came up with what exactly?
Doug, go ahead and discuss it with JD because I've debated this with him a couple times.
What Trump tried to do immediately was politicize it. Oh, when was she appointed? It doesn't matter. She's a lifelong career public servant. She's been there since 1999. There was never a problem with partisanship with any of these career public servants, be they people, that we met in the impeachment for the first time. These people have done their job in Republican and Democratic administrations. But all of a sudden now, under Donald Trump, it matters when they were appointed. This gal was there since 1999. Jonathan Karl pointed out correctly that she was promoted or appointed to her current position in January of this year by Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Then when he found out she'd been there, she's an Obama holdover. Well, first of all, that doesn't matter. Secondly, she's not only an Obama holdover, she's a George W. Bush holdover.
Right.
And again, there was no problem with partisanship or bias with any of these dedicated, patriotic career public servants until Donald Trump got into office, and the supreme victim in chief has to make everything a conspiracy against him. Oh, she was there under Obama, therefore she doesn't like me. No, she's a reasonable thinking human being. That's why she doesn't like you.
Could not agree with you more.
That doesn't affect the quality of her work.
Doug, I could not agree with you more. We see eye to eye on a lot of things, but we love it when you get into it with JD a little bit. Doug, you do a great show Saturdays, 2 to 4 p.m., the only liberal talk show here, not only in Las Vegas, but my understanding in the state of Nevada. Doug, keep up the great work. Keep up the fight, my friend. We'll catch up with you next week. Please stay safe, okay?
Hey, you guys do the same. Always a pleasure to be with you.
All right.
Yeah, thanks a lot,
Appreciate
Doug.
it. Doug's the best. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll get to your calls, 702-257-5396. Your calls coming up next. You're listening to The Vegas Take. All right, welcome back. It is The Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us on a Wednesday, broadcasting live from my kitchen. By the way, it's the worst nightmare for my producer, Jason Stein, and my co-host, J.D. Sharp, because I haven't taken out the garbage in a couple days. So it smells really awful in my kitchen right now. To be honest with you, I did it on purpose because I wanted them to suffer. That's the truth, actually. And I said, hey, you can take out the garbage if you want to, but I'm too lazy.
Why is my microphone cold, by the way?
I don't know.
My headset and my microphone are both cold.
Well, we figured you're a very cold human being, so we thought we would give you a cold microphone.
Doesn't make any sense.
I want everyone out there to know that Brian is lying. You did not leave the trash out on purpose to annoy us, because you're ordinarily such a clean individual, right?
I am. I'm very clean.
No, this is the norm. Fruity Pebbles, 3-day-old Fruity Pebbles in the sink. I got some kind of rotting salad over there on the stove. I mean, it's just a disaster.
Put it this way: I had a pretty aggressive flatulence roughly a minute and a half ago, and I couldn't smell it.
Fair enough. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about last segment we were talking about how the president attacks reporters on a daily basis, and he does. And a lot of people on the right are saying, "Oh, fake news, fake media, fake news. They're trying to get Trump in these gotcha moments." But then when we actually get into the detail of it, and you don't generalize, 99% of these questions are legitimate questions. They really are. So I'm a big fan of Stephen Colbert. I like Stephen Colbert a lot. By the way, he's doing the show from his own home. Not his kitchen, but he's doing it from his own home. He's the host of The Late Show, and he decided to rip Trump a little bit for his attack on reporters as well. Now, we were just talking yesterday about ABC reporter Jonathan Karl. The question that he asked in the Monday press briefing, which I think me and Doug stated was a pretty legitimate question. So I want you to listen to this audio. And then, by the way, we will take calls at 257-5396. But I want you to listen to this exchange and then listen to Stephen Colbert. And I couldn't said it any better. This is Stephen Colbert in his own words criticizing the president for attacking reporters. Here it is.
From there, it was just open season on every reporter who asked about the IG report, like ABC's John Karl.
Follow up on this question of the HHS Inspector General. It wasn't so much her opinion, but they interviewed 323 different hospitals.
Well, it still could be her opinion. When was she appointed?
Did serve in the previous administration.
Oh, you didn't tell me that. Oh, I see. You're a third-rate reporter, and what you just said is a disgrace. Thank you very much, John. Thank you very much. You will never make it.
What is wrong with him? Look. For the record, this Inspector General started under Bill Clinton, served for 8 years for George W. Bush, 8 years for Obama, and then, you know what? Who gives a Trump doesn't understand that no one cares about these hissy fits anymore. All of this drama no longer plays to the camera, sir, not even to your own supporters, because it doesn't matter who you voted for. Everyone just wants to know the truth, because that's how you stay alive. So grow up and do your damn job. We have to. You should, too.
I'm so, and by the way, I couldn't have said it any better. I am so sick and tired of people on the right who wear the Donald Trump knee pads who think that this type of behavior is okay. And I'm not even talking about during a pandemic. I'm not even talking about in a situation like today when people tune into a press conference and they want facts and they want to hear from the doctors and they want to hear, how am I going to get my next paycheck? When are we going to reopen the country? The last thing most Americans, I would like to think, want to hear is the president act like a 12-year-old girl and have a teenage hissy fit. That's the last thing Americans want to hear, and he does it every single day. And he does it during a national pandemic. It is disgraceful. And I've been saying that even before this thing happened. This is the last time the president should be making about himself. This is the last time the president should be making it political. Yeah, I get it. There are some Democrats out there that are making it political. No, there are no Democrats out there that want innocent people to die, as some right-wing nuts would like to tell you. There are no Democrats in office right now that want more people to contract the virus. Trust me, there are no Democrats in office that want that. No one's stated that. Nobody wants that. Do they want
why would someone state that?
Do
Brian?
they want?
No one's going to state that. You have to be able to read between the lines to make an assessment like that.
Do they want to hurt? Do they want the president to be hurt because of the bad economy? Well, sure. I'm sure there's some Democrats that feel that way, but they don't want innocent people to be hurt. It is a ridiculous statement that the right makes on a regular basis. Not everybody on the right, but a lot of these nationally syndicated talk show hosts, the Laura Ingrams of the world that are friendly with Donald Trump, they're the ones that are making this more political, in my personal opinion, than anybody. They attack the reporters. They call them fake news. They echo everything that Donald Trump says. He acts like a 10-year-old in these press conferences, and I'm sick and tired of it. And it is not journalists and reporters' responsibility to kiss his ass and congratulate the President of the United States. That is not what a press briefing is for. It's certainly not what a coronavirus press briefing is for. What is it? If you ask me, well, Brian, what is the responsibility of the president during these press conferences? Give out the facts, give out the truth, tell people financially what they're looking at, tell people about the virus, and if they're asked questions about testing, if they're asked questions about give me a break.
He does it every single time.
Give me
every
a break.
single time.
When he's
every single time he tells the truth about what's going on.
Oh, really?
Yes.
He does. He tells the truth.
Yes, with what's happening for the states.
Really?
Admiral Giroux gets up there. Birx goes up there. Fauci goes up there. Pence goes up there. They all answer various questions. They all say exactly what's taking place or what's been happening.
So why does he need to be up there then?
What do you mean, why does he need to be up there? Because he's the president of the United States, Brian. I understand you don't like him, but a lot of the country does. And a lot of the country is starting to like him more than they ever have. In fact, he is more popular. He is more popular than ever right now.
Really?
Right?
According to what?
According to several different polls.
Which poll?
He's at 60%, according to Gallup.
He's at 60%.
Yeah, that was as of about 2 weeks ago. Yes,
because I've seen some polls that show me that Biden's beating him.
Biden has absolutely no chance whatsoever of winning the election in 2020. No one is seeing him.
Well, I disagree.
No one is watching him. Trump is handling this very, very well.
Yeah,
the projections are significantly less than they were before in the deaths. What?
Trump is handling this
he's
very,
handling
very
extremely well. Is he going to? Yes.
Really?
Yes. Yes, he is.
What makes you think he's handled it very, very well?
What do you mean, Brian? As far as what?
As far as everything. You just said he's handling this pandemic very, very well. I hear that from people on the right all the time.
Yes.
What has he done very, very well? Let's name a couple things. What has he done?
Aid to the states. Small business.
Let's stop there.
No, we're not going to stop. Let me finish.
Okay.
The SBA.
I'm going to forget.
No, well, then get smarter, I guess.
Get smarter.
Okay, yeah.
You're right. You're the smart one. I'm the dumb one.
Well, if you're going to forget.
Go ahead. Take over. Go ahead.
I'm not going to take
Go
over,
ahead.
Brian.
Finish the rest of the segment by yourself.
I'm not going to take over, Brian. I'm not going to finish the rest of the segment by myself. Okay.
Well, you go on 5-minute rants, and I forget what you say at the beginning when you start talking.
The SBA has already given out $70 billion in loans. They added another $250 as of yesterday. The projections are down significantly.
And what did Trump do to make the projections go down? What did he do?
Mitigation. Kidding me? Of course I'm not kidding you. What are you talking about? Brian, why do you think we're here in your living room doing the show? Why do you think in Las Vegas, Nevada?
Because Donald Trump didn't act fast enough. That's
why.
Nothing
to do with that at all. That has nothing to do with it. And actually, Brian, Brian, California right now is conducting a study, and they're wondering why California, a state that has twice as many people as New York, has 10 times less deaths and 10 times less cases. That has nothing to do with that. They're actually
nothing at all.
No, because California, their flu season started in November this year, so they're doing a test on 3,200 different people to see if they have antibodies, because they think that there might be a lot of people in California who contracted the virus in late 2019, and if that happens, then the virus has been circulating in the United States for a long time.
It is absolutely laughable.
How is that laughable?
When you say
that's factual. That's actually happening as we speak right now, Brian.
When I say laughable and you don't let me finish my sentence, it's hard for me to make my point. What I say laughable is I can go on and on about how the president's response to this was a joke. And I start at the very, very beginning. The statements that he made. The statements that his cronies were making. Now, if you want to say, well, Dr. Fauci on February blah, 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 or January blah, blah,
January 26th, yeah.
Okay, fine. Fine. The president of the United States, the buck stops with him, and he downplayed this virus for 2 months. In fact, at one point, a month and a half ago, he told people to go back to work. And it was 15 15 cases to 0. I say this every single day, yet you want to say that he's done a great job.
No, I said he was wrong about
All
that.
right, well, let's get to the phone calls. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Again, if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-257-5396. Why don't we start off with Joel? Joel, thanks for calling in to the Vegas Take. What's on your mind, Joel?
Yeah, what's up, Joel?
Good morning, guys. You know, you can argue whatever you want to argue on either side of this, but the voters will have the last word in November, and
You're right.
every one of Trump's lies and incompetent statements will come back and bite him squarely on his fat orange butt. You know that's going to happen. Biden or whomever is the Democratic nominee is going to show these incompetent statements that he's made time and time and time again, over and over again, from the early summer through November before the election. So people will have information and make their decision based on Trump's own words.
And then he's going to say, well, didn't you tell me that I was xenophobic for shutting down travel to China?
Let him do that. Let him. If that's
Okay.
the best he's got, go for it, man.
That's actually a very big deal. Had he not shut down travel to China, at least according to what's going on in New York City right now, we could have 3 times the deaths and 3 times the caseloads that we do now.
And JD, 40,000 people came into the country from other parts of the world during that same time.
And
So
China
please,
allowed 36 million people, while they knew they had a giant virus spreading that was much more dangerous than they were letting on. They let 36 million people
I'm not
celebrate the Lunar New Year, and a lot of them were American.
defend China? I never defended China.
Well,
I'm
Jim
just
Acosta
saying
is defending China and the World Health Organization right now.
Trump's own words are going to come back and bite him on his butt when this campaign starts to heat up in the summertime. You're going to see over and over again video clips of Trump's own words and then his attempts to try and lie about not saying those things that are going to come back on him, and people are going to have to decide, is this the guy we want to represent our country?
I agree, Joel, and we will find out very soon. The elections are coming up very soon. Thank you for the
great
phone
call, Joel.
257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Alex. Alex, you're next on the Vegas Take.
What's up, Alex?
Hey, good morning, guys. Listen, I am really shocked at what I'm hearing. That caller that just made that phone call. The words that Donald Trump, the gentleman saying that those words are going to come back and bite him. Well, guess what? I've already said it 1,000 times. I'm Hispanic. I work in the construction industry, not working hammering nails, but selling a lot of material. You know what? Most of the Hispanics that I work with, they say, I could care less what he says now. It's his actions, and that's what has mattered, and that has changed the country.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about those actions. I'm going on exactly what you just said. What are the actions that make you think he's a great president and you'll vote for him again? I'm just curious.
I've said it numerous times. As far as the mandate on that Obama crap, thank God it's gone. It saved me $3,000, and I know several people that have the same problem. And guess what? They're going off of that and a lot of other things. What do I mean by other things? The trade with other countries.
Well, that seemed to work very well with China, didn't it?
Wait a minute. We have as Hispanics. We
Actually,
have
did work,
seen
Brad.
what the border was like, and I am surprised at how many Hispanics are very upset with illegal immigration.
Did he build a wall, and did Mexico pay for it?
Hold on.
No,
please.
no. You brought up the border.
Brian,
Excuse me.
There's 161 miles of the wall.
Alex, you brought up the border. Alex, you brought up the border, not me. He campaigned on we're going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. How did that work out? So don't you tell me about getting things done. He lied. Mexico never paid for the wall.
Let me answer, please. Okay?
I'm waiting.
Okay. As far as the pain, you know how us Hispanics see this whole thing?
Wait a second. You just ignored what I just said. No, because you brought something up, and let's go with that. You're going to answer my question, and then I will let you finish. You just brought up the wall. He campaigned and said Mexico was going to pay for the wall. We're going to build a wall, and Mexico is going to pay for it. You're Hispanic. How did that work out? Did he build the wall, and did Mexico pay for it? Yes or no?
In an indirect manner, he certainly did, and then he explained.
No, he didn't. Mexico hasn't put $1 towards the wall. You're lying.
No,
Goodbye.
Alex,
Goodbye.
He has built 161 miles of that wall.
Well, Alex just lied.
The United States has paid for it.
Yeah, exactly.
But you can't say that he didn't make a conscious effort to get Mexico to pay for it. They just did not pay for it. So I would not call him a liar.
If a conscious effort is lying, you're absolutely right.
He wanted to make it happen.
He wanted to make it happen.
But it was a two-party deal, and one of the parties didn't agree with it.
So if I want to make everyone,
it's very simple.
So by your logic, if I want to make everybody in this country a millionaire, and I say Mexico's going to pay for it, I made the effort. It didn't happen, but I made the effort. So let's campaign on that. That's ridiculous.
Again, it's more of a self-fulfilling prophecy type of thing.
Well,
Brian.
okay. Well, you shouldn't campaign on a self-fulfilling prophecy. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. I got a self-fulfilling prophecy. I wish my penis was 12 inches, but you know what? It's not going to happen. 257-5396.
Are you telling women that your penis is 12 inches long?
That's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
That would be it. No, that
Mexico
would be,
is going to enlarge it.
No, that would be a lie.
Mexico's going to build it. Mexico's going to build it. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. 257-5396. Let's go to Steven. Steven, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Steven?
Steven, go ahead, sir. You're up next. Thank you, Steven. 702-25. Steven, go ahead, Steven. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you guys that Trump does not handle the press well, and I agree with that 100%. Can I just make a quick statement, and I'll get off the air? I know you get a lot of calls. Please scrutinize this $2.2 trillion bill. Someone said that there's a $57,000 raise per person over time to Congress in there, all kinds of endowments you guys don't even know about, and a lot of other things that are snuck in there. Someone said that only 9% of the money is actually going to the poor people and the business owners for loans. Please check it out. You guys are good researchers and you tell the truth. And just give me the time to just check that because you guys are good. Anyway, enjoy your day and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thanks a lot,
Thank you, Stephen. Stay safe. Look, this is the history of this country, quite frankly, whether it's a Democrat or Republican in office. Usually it's the people that need help the most. If you look at the rates of African Americans that are contracting the coronavirus, it's amazing. I've seen some states where African Americans are 13% of the population, yet they're making up for 45% of all contracted coronavirus cases.
Or like in Louisiana or in New Orleans, for example, where I think they're 32% of the population, and 70% of the deaths are occurring with African Americans right now. Now, there are some predisposed comorbidities like hypertension and COPD and asthma and diabetes, but still those numbers are extremely high.
Problem.
Well, obviously that's a problem, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's in lower income areas you have a lot of vertical living where people have to walk through the same places every single day, and then obviously anywhere where you have a lot of public transit where you don't own a car and you have to whenever you go anywhere and you need to be around a lot of different people, you have a chance of getting the disease there as well.
JD, here's the bottom line, and I'm just going to make a general statement. For the most part, if you don't have money, if you don't have good insurance, if you're poor, in my personal opinion, no matter what the color of your skin is, you have a much better chance of getting sick.
And you're right. You're totally right.
And that is where I do agree with Bernie Sanders.
To a degree. I agree with that.
That has to change, and we need to help these people.
And as far as the Democrats putting the pork, so to speak, into the bill, there's something that I'm not a big Chuck Schumer guy at all, but Chuck Schumer has recommended something called the Heroes Bill. And it's going to give all frontline workers a bonus of $25,000, which I think is actually potentially a very, very effective thing. Now, it may anger the military, who do this every single day and who aren't going to get something like that. But I think there should be some type of extra compensation for those who are working the front line in the healthcare industry in particular.
Right, let's go back to our phone calls, 257-5396. Let's go to Rick. Rick, you're next up on the Vegas Take. Go ahead, Rick.
Hey, what's up, Rick?
Yeah, all the people that don't like Trump, only thing I hear is irrational hate, man. You know
what was my irrational hate?
I'm an African American and I'm voting for Trump. And
okay, that's
I didn't like Obama. I didn't like Obama, but guess what? I told people that didn't like Obama, I said, as long as you hate this man irrationally.
Okay, let's go with that.
I mean, you're
let's go with that.
Yourself, man.
No problem, Rick. Let's go with your opinion.
The same thing for the people that's hating on Trump.
Okay, let's go with that. You said irrational. What have I said? Okay, what have I said either in this show or ever that, in your opinion, specifically is irrational? Go ahead.
Why you talk about he's not a good guy? Well, that's your opinion.
No, let me ask you a question. Okay, let's go with that. Okay, let's go with that. No problem. I didn't say you have to elect a priest, but let's go with that. Your thought and why I say he's a bad guy. I'm going to name you a few things. You could call it my Donald Trump checklist if you'd like, sir.
I'm ready.
But I want to know if you think this is a good guy. Let's start, because I'll tell you why I think he's not a good guy. First of all, anybody that goes after a POW and says you don't respect somebody because they're captured, anybody that has unprotected sex with a porn star a few months after your wife has a child is probably
Allegedly.
Oh, please, give me a break. Oh, by the way, okay, so do you defend the John McCain comments? Yeah, I'm sure he didn't have sex with Stormy Daniels. He just paid her $120,000. Give me a break, sir. You are delusional. Okay, you're wearing the Donald Trump knee pads. That's all you do. That's what. Answer my question. Is that a good person? Yes or no?
Is what a good person?
Somebody that goes after somebody's war service who dodged the military 4 times and says, I don't respect him because he was captured. I'm talking about John McCain. Now, is that just an opinion that a bad person would do that? Or is that a bad person? Yes or no?
I can't judge that.
Oh, then you're a coward. Goodbye. You're a coward.
He's not a coward.
You are a coward.
Good call, Rick.
Yeah, that was a great call.
You know,
I can't judge.
The thing
Hold
is,
on a second, JD.
What?
He's judging. Hold on a second.
What?
He's judging every single person that doesn't like Donald Trump. This idiot who hold on, let me finish. This idiot who just called in is judging every single person out there that dislikes or hates Donald Trump. But when it comes to a president of the United States who goes after someone who is a war hero, then all of a sudden he can't judge. You're an idiot, sir.
He's just saying it's unwarranted hate. I don't think he's judging
I just asked him to answer an honest question, and he's calling everyone out there deranged, people who hate Trump, and he's judging them.
One thing you think about is,
Brian,
Brian,
Donald Trump. He's a joke, this caller.
Do you know how big of a prick George Washington was? Do you have any idea? I mean, we're
not talking about George Washington. Why are you talking about a president from 100 years ago?
No, not 100, about 300 and something along those
lines. Why
are
you talking about George Washington?
I'm saying until about 1950.
I like him on our bills.
When television became a thing, and when presidents were in front of people, and when they were on the debate stage. I mean, it didn't really make a difference.
Did you watch George Washington debate?
No, I'm just saying George Washington was a great leader, and the president of the United States, when the president of the United States is a great leader, they may not have the best bedside manner.
Donald Trump
they may not be they may not be the best person in general, but as long as they were a good leader.
George Washington had sex with a porn star? I didn't know that.
I'm sure George Washington had sex with a lot of women back then.
Did he go after war heroes? I didn't know George Washington.
What I'm saying is, Brian, it didn't make it until about 1950 to 1960 when people were when presidents and when politicians were on TV and you could actually see them and you could see what they look like and their mannerisms, etc. It didn't really make a difference what a president did in their own in their spare time.
We've never had an a-hole in chief like Donald Trump.
For example, John F. Kennedy was.
No, I'm
just saying he was
Trump.
Was he a president?
First you bring up George Washington,
was he a president?
John F. Kennedy.
He was a president, right?
Yeah,
he was a president of the United States. And why did he become president?
Why did he become?
Yes,
I don't even know where you're going with this.
I'm
because
just saying,
he got voted in by the people. I don't know what you're talking
because
about.
Why?
Why are we bringing up John F. Kennedy and George Washington?
John F. Kennedy was voted in because he looked good on camera. Because a lot of the country trusted.
You're right. Trump looks really good with this.
John F. Kennedy had many more women than Donald Trump ever had.
Yeah.
FDR had the exact same thing.
Let's compare. What I'm saying is to Donald Trump. That's a great comparison.
Because they're not presidents. They both weren't presidents of the United States.
No, because they're not. They weren't a-holes like Donald Trump is. That's why.
John F. Kennedy treated or had made so many more. He had so much more infidelity involved with his wife than Donald Trump has had.
If the only sins that Donald Trump had done in his life was perhaps cheat on several.
That's what you keep talking about.
If I could just finish my sentence. It's not the only thing I keep talking. I talk about the way he treats people. I talk about the way he treats reporters. I talk about how it's all about him, how he's a narcissist and an egomaniac. I talk about the fact how he attacks Gold Star families and immigrants. I talk about the fact all the time. I talk about the fact how he went after John McCain. So the infidelity, with all due respect, is certainly never the only thing. If that was the only thing, I'd say, all right, he's a playboy, but at least he respects people.
But Brian, people care what Donald Trump does.
I agree. That's what I'm talking about.
How he acts.
Yeah, exactly.
And how it affects their lives, not what he says and not the things he does in his spare time.
Well, saying that a young child seeing Donald Trump attack people on a regular basis, saying that that doesn't affect people, especially kids, to me, I just disagree with you. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll take more of your phone calls. Coming up in just a few minutes, by the way, John Taffer, Bar Rescue, will be joining us, give you a little bit of advice on how you bring your business back when everything reopens. That and much, much more. We'll take more of your calls on the other side. 257-5396. Take a quick break. We'll be back right after this.